My name is Marietta Bertelsen. Actually, as a sister, I started out teaching. I taught for 28 years. And then I became a chaplain for about 10 and a bookkeeper for the retreat department for about 10, and a few other odd jobs in between that were very interesting, like working for a parish and doing door-to-door home visiting, things like that. Right now, I'm basically retired. So, nothing I get paid for. Just a few odd responsibilities here and there. Play the cello, which is fun sometimes. I do watch television, work on my computer, visit with people. What I liked is my family used to get together every month, but with this nowadays you can't even do that. Go outside maybe, something. I entered after high school, partially, and we were 17, I believe, when we were professed. We were professed as 15, and up to this year, we were still 9 living in here, and we had one just die not long ago, and now we're down to 8, and this is our 70th Jubilee, 70 years professed. So we're doing well as a group. We have changed so much. In, like I've been 73 years. Think back on, and we're nothing like we were. Nothing. I like what has happened. I really do. The day I entered, I would never have expected it to be like we are today. Never. But it's all right. We're changing gradually, and oh my. In my day, they were afraid that we were staying at places too long and getting too attached. I got moved every 1 or 2 years. If I was there 2 years, the superior left. So that was quite an interesting thing going on. A lot of experience there. In one place, I finally was 5 years, and then I think the last one as a teacher was 6. And after that, we could choose our own, more or less. We had to get it okayed, but we were out looking for jobs. And I remember that one. I don't want to call that community, but I'm out looking for a position that might go with me and that, and I'd write to try to get a job, and they'd write back, "Fine, send us your resume." I had no idea what a resume was. I'm teaching 28 years, and I'm 21 before I started, so 49, 50 years old. Didn't know what a resume was. So I had to come home and find out what a resume was, and by that time I have so much to go back and look up all my education and everything. It's like, it took me a long time to get a resume finally put together. So that was kind of interesting, trying to get a position that way. But it was all right. That's where I went into some parish work and into chaplaincy until I finally came home. Yeah. And the job I liked the best, which sounds kind of bad, I guess, was the bookkeeping for the retreat department. Sister Rita Louis is an excellent person in charge, and I really love that kind of work. I was thinking about what made me who I am, and I think spiritually it would have a lot to do with my growing up. My mother was always a Catholic. My dad became a Catholic before they were married, but he grew up Lutheran, and that's a strong one for me. They used to say you had to be a Catholic to go to heaven. I never did believe that. I mean, my grandparents, my cousins, my aunts and uncles, you gotta be kidding. And then the I want to say kids. When I was young, I was always playing with boys. There weren't any girls in our neighborhood my age. So I was playing with them, and the neighbors, those boys were Christian Reform, from the Christian Reformed Church, and the one down was a word I never knew what it meant, so I'm wondering if it was like Armenian or something. As a child, it was just a weird word, strange word to me. And I don't know what the other one was, but they were all very good people, like Eagle Scouts, things like that. I grew up in a wonderful neighborhood where you respected one another and you obeyed your parents, and things were really, really good. So that really affected my life, being mixed in with all these different denominations, religions, whatever, was very important to me. And when we got older, we called my dad the Lutheran Catholic, because I remember the day he said, "Why should I pray to the saints when I can go directly to God?" I was a sister by that time. And I said to him, "Go directly to God, no problem." So that was really good. And then I suspect some people, in fact, to me, like Sister Angela, nothing direct, but she is my great aunt, my grandmother's sister. In fact, my Catholic grandparents lived down the first floor. I remember 3 uncles and an aunt living there. The rest were married. And we lived upstairs. And also, I'm the oldest of all my siblings. And I'm also the second oldest of all my cousins. So I'm used to being a sense of responsibility all the way through from that. But Sister Angela was my great aunt, and she was a musician with a beautiful alto voice. And once in 3 years, they were allowed to go home for home visits. You know how that has changed. And she would come to my grandmother's house downstairs, and so I would get to see her. She was just a lot of fun. She liked to tell stories. She didn't spend much time with us, but she's our great aunt. And we, every 3 years you get to see him in 18 years' time. And then my second great teacher, Sister Lambertine. I remember on First Communion Day, she says, "You're too young to know," actually she said it before that, "you're too young to know what you want to be when you grow up. So after communion, you tell God that you're willing to be anything He wants you to be." And there's a whole story with that. That stayed with me. Well, I was 8 when I made my first communion, 18 when I entered the convent. And that was quite a what should I be? God, what do you want me to be type thing. But I wanted to be a sister. I would say I have very high hopes, both for the world and for our community. As far as the world is concerned, things seem really bad. I mean, you have this stuff with the police treating these black young men that they are after, and that being so bad, but people being aware of it, and I think that's great. And I was thinking too, and I can't think of the word for it, when they take these girls and they abuse them, use them as slaves and all that. That's from any country, whites, blacks, any color. It's so bad, and people are becoming more aware of what's going on, and I think that is excellent. As long as it's news, it means the bad stuff is news, means that there's a lot of good stuff out there. That's not news. The bad stuff is news. People are becoming aware of it, and when they become aware of it and get upset with it, they start doing things about it. And to me, that's wonderful. We're coming to, we're getting there. Might take a while. I mean, it's taken a while throughout my life. I mean, I was around when the unions were started, and they kind of throwing them out now, which is not good, and some other things that were going on, that walks and so forth, but who knows. Anyway, I still have high hopes because more and more people are being aware, and I think those awful phones are doing some really good work. Pictures. As far as my community, I have high hopes. We're getting down. When Mother Benedicta came over, I don't think she had a handful of sisters when she first came over, and they came over to teach German children which is what they were doing in Germany. But we started out taking care of children, teaching children, and taking care of older people. Now, you look at what we're doing, all kinds of things, and I think especially into justice. I was a little surprised when we started that, but I think it's an excellent thing. So what I see is us and our numbers going down, okay, but I think what will happen is like from the ashes will come forward the flames, the fire. I think I'm looking forward. I told Lisa that I would like to be around to see what happens. I don't know if I'll make it, but I expect us to go way down in numbers because there's so many of us who are older. And I would hope that, now look at, like different things happening out there, associates, even our associates are older, but it's getting mixed with men and women and people with ideals and people who are a lot more educated than like when I was starting out. I mean, I taught with 1 or 2 years of college. I know it took me 12 years to get through college because summer schools. So it took a long time. But people are much more educated now and they're much more involved now, and I think it's great. I think something wonderful is going to come out of all of this. Our spirit is good. It can come up. Words of wisdom, I don't feel like I really have. I don't feel wise. But it came up with this. I think the most important thing we need to do in life is learn to love. Pure and simple. I think Jesus hit it right on the head. I know he did. But if we would learn to love, think how everything would change. We could have heaven on earth practically if we treated everybody in a loving way.